Hi guys, this is Oliver Harwood. I'm the Chelsea football correspondent for Football.London. I'm just going to discuss with you about the Crystal Palace game of the weekend from a Chelsea point of view. It's fair to say it's been a bit of a mixed start. Obviously, the first game against Burnley was not a good one, where they lost 3-2 and had two men sent off as well in Cahill and Fabregas. That really set the tone for a bad start to the season, but they've bounced back pretty well from that. The win over Spurs, and they've had a draw against Arsenal at Stamford Bridge, and obviously that superb win at Atletico Madrid in the Champions League as well. So they're coming off a bad defeat against Manchester City before the international break. So that was a real shame to really end the first part of the season for them. But they'll look to bounce back against Palace at the weekend, and the one thing that's really let them down more than it has done before, especially from last season, is their ill discipline. Obviously, the two sendings off of the first game, David Luiz getting sent off against Arsenal late on in the game as well. Even if you go back as far as the FA Cup final last year with Victor Moses getting sent off and Pedro then getting sent off in the Community Shield, there has been some ill discipline there, and that seems to have cost them, and it might go on to cost them a little bit more if they can't keep their sort of heads in certain occasions, and I'm sure they'll look to do that at the weekend. So I think what the game showed before the international break was how strong Manchester City's squad are. There was Antonio Conte made a big point of the fact that Chelsea had played in Atletico Madrid on the Wednesday night, had to fly home. They only had a day to prepare for the game the following day, and it didn't really work out very well for them. They looked very leggy, they looked very tired, and I think that's kind of a sign of where the two squads are really. I think City have just got this depth in their squad, and Chelsea maybe don't have that extra depth because they've really just brought in players to replace others. And then with Manchester United as well, exactly the same. So I don't think there's much surprise at the two clubs they're being talked about, the Manchester clubs. But then that will suit Chelsea. They'll just go about their business and try and eke their way back into the title race. Obviously 6 points behind now. So Saturday's a massive game for them. It really is a massive game to get back onto winning ways before Champions League game against Roma, and then Watford the week after. So a really big game for them. Yeah, those are massive losses, absolutely massive losses. MORATA has taken to the Premier League brilliantly. He scored that hat-trick against Stoke. He's already scored six goals in the Premier League. And he's really shown his ruthless streak, especially against some of the teams a bit lower down the table as well. He will be a big loss for them, and it'll be interesting to see what Conte does in that front line. I personally think that it won't be Michy Batshuayi starting. I think that he might do something that he used quite often last season, which was to have the front three of Pedro, Willian and Hazard. And I kind of think that's how he'll go, how he'll do it at the weekend. I might be wrong, but I think that is probably his preferred plan B to go for. In the middle of the park without KANTE, he might go for David Luiz coming into the midfield and making three in the middle, or he might just go for Fabregas and Bakayoko, which is probably the likely option of just using those two in a sort of 3-4-3 that you're probably going to see happen. But KANTE is a massive loss for Chelsea because he's been so good over the last two seasons. Probably say if KANTE's not there, is that midfield. If Palace can look to overrun that midfield if they can and get beyond Fabregas, who's not the best defensively, and try to use that to their advantage. Obviously, the win for Palace at Stamford Bridge as well was all about the counter-attack, so that's somewhere they'll have to look and get behind Alonso and Moses in the wing-back positions and really use those to their advantage as much as they can. I kind of think it will be a 2-0 win for Chelsea. I think they'll probably come and do a job. They should be fresh after the international break as well. And so, unfortunately for Palace fans, I think personally that the goalless streak might continue and that Chelsea will get the win and get back to winning ways after the Manchester City defeat.